What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Zachary McAllister here today, and in this video we're going to be talking about the top 10 wings in this year's draft. Now this ranking is based on my big board, which will be coming out later in this week, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And before we get into the video, I just want to say that part of this video was recorded prior to the draft combine. So some of the measurements, aka the height and wingspan, will be a little bit different to what these guys are actually, because it was based on prior information. So please don't kill me in the comments if there is some discrepancy. I apologize. But yeah, let's get into the video. At the number 10 position, I have Herbert Jones out of Alabama. Jones is 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan. At Alabama, he averaged 22 points, 13 rebounds, and 6.5 assists per 100 possessions. He shot 45% from the field and 35% from 3. Herb is a super versatile and switchable defender. I'm pretty confident he'll be able to guard positions 1 through 4 at the NBA. His defensive numbers were ridiculous. He's very light on his feet, and when you combine all of this with his length, you get an extremely tough guy to get past. He rarely gets in the face of guys and just overwhelms them. His fundamentals are really solid. His hands are always up in the air, and he's very measured with his closeouts. His length allows him to block and alter shots in the perimeter. His recovery skills are also really great, and he makes up for the mistakes of other guys. There are also glimpses of rim protection potential. He reads the floor well and identifies danger really well. He anticipates defensive breakdowns and solves problems before they even become abundant. He's a very good open floor athlete and got a lot of buckets when he was able to get out and run. Once he gets up to speed, he's very fast for his size. He's a nice off-ball cutter, especially when he gets ahead of steam. He also showed he can attack the defenses off the bounce. He's also a lob threat. His playmaking chops are surprisingly good. He probably won't be able to run your offense or even be a secondary ball handler, but he has a high basketball IQ and good feel for the game. In terms of weaknesses, let's start with the shooting. He was a non-shooter in his first 3 years of college, but he started shooting it more this past season. He still only shot 35% from 3 and only made 20 all season. Still, I think there's more room to grow with his shot, and I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a guy who can hit open shots at some point at the NBA level. The mechanics aren't great, but again, this is early in his shooting journey, so I think he has a much more malleable shot than most guys. The jumper is definitely key to his ceiling, and if it doesn't come, he's probably just a situational lockdown guy. He is also very left-hand dominant, and teams could expose this at the next level. At the number 9 spot, I have Jalen Johnson out of Duke. Johnson averaged 30.4 points, 16.4 rebounds, and 6 assists per 100 possessions, while shooting 52.3% from the field and 44.4% from 3. Johnson is a high-level athlete and possesses some serious lift. He's definitely a guy that can play above the basket. He's a really strong and fluid athlete. Finishing at the basket is not a problem for him, and he was able to put the ball in the basket from close range consistently, even through contact. He runs the floor hard, and his handle is exceptional for a guy that big. He's trouble for defense when he gets ahead of steam going to the basket, and his burst is very deceptive and can beat guys off the dribble. His footwork on the perimeter could use some work though. I think there's potential for him to be able to hit open threes to the next level. For now, his best hope lies in the catch and shoot though, not at the dribble. He hit long twos consistently, so I'm somewhat confident he could stretch those shots out to beyond the arc. He's a very smart passer, and he made some nice cross-court passes and found cutters regularly. He's a high IQ playmaker from the post. He can handle the ball off the grab and go, and he's so much fun to watch when he gets going in the open floor. His dribble in the half court will need some work though. The rim protection is absolutely there. He sneaks up on guys and comes up with blocks and contests consistently. He anticipates action really well. The verticality he shows on the offensive end translates to here as well. There's even some potential for him to be a small ball 5 in certain situations. Guiding guys away from the basket with the body is something he's really good at too. He's also shown that he's stout enough to defend bigger guys in the post. At the number 8 position, I have Chris Duarte out of Oregon. Duarte is 6'6" with a 6'7" wingspan. In his final season with the Oregon Ducks, he averaged 30.5 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 4.7 assists per 100 possessions, while shooting 53% from the field and 42% from 3. Duarte's main calling card is his shooting. He's a really good shot maker, and that 3-point percentage was not a fluke. Over 2 seasons, he averaged 38% on 5.5 attempts per game. He is excellent off the catch, even when on the move or coming around screens. His shot has a sweet rhythm to it. He's always ready with his hands up off the ball, and the release is buttery smooth. He's also got some range on his jumpers too. He's a good shooter off the dribble and when pulling up too. He's good at relocating off the ball to get himself open. He also recognizes when defenders close out too hard on him and is willing to pump fake guys out of their socks when this happens. He can operate the pick and roll and punish teams who went under on him. He's an underrated finisher at the basket too. He's got some hops and has the ability to adjust his body in the air. On the defensive side of the ball, he's a really good off-ball defender. He's really good at recognizing when to help and to be aggressive as a secondary defender. He's good at sticking his hands into passing lanes and getting deflections. He's really good at reading ball handlers and anticipating their decisions. He also knows when to rotate from the weak side and was a surprisingly good rim protector. In terms of negatives, he's not a great distributor and will probably never be a team's offensive hub because of it. He's limited to making very simple reads, even out of the pick and roll. He wasn't very good at closing out, and his frame is very lanky, so he will struggle to match bigger guys for their physicality. At number 7, I have Corey Kispert from Gonzaga. Kispert is 6'7" with a 6'7" wingspan, and in his final season at Gonzaga, he averaged 31.3 points, 8.4 rebounds, and 3.1 assists per 100 possessions, while shooting 53% from the field and 44% from 3. The attribute that stands out most in Kispert's game is his shooting. He's deadly off the catch and shoot. His release is really quick and repeatable. I often talk about whether or not a guy's jumper is certified. Well, in this draft at least, they don't get more certified than Kispert. Contest or not, this guy nails jumpers. And if you're wondering if he's got range on his threes, I can assure you, he can get hot from deep behind the arc too. He's borderline automatic when he's left wide open. Off the ball, he knows where to be and relocates to positions where he can get open shots off. He reads defense as well and runs guys into screens intelligently. He's a great backdoor cutter too, and he can shoot on the move as well, which is important as you'll need to do this a lot more at the NBA level in order to get open. There's also some potential for him to be a pick and pop guy. All of this shooting opens up a lot of driving opportunities for him. When he gets ahead of steam, going downhill, he can be dangerous. He reads defense as well and identifies when defenders step up too high. He's got a relatively broad body and he uses his physicality well. In terms of weaknesses, he offers very little in terms of shot creation for himself or others. He's not as effective from the mid-range, and he's the kind of guy who's going to get most of his shots from 3 or at the rim. Getting any sort of separation with the ball in his hands was a struggle, the passing wasn't reliable, and he turned the ball over relatively often, and defensively, he's not awful on the ball, but he will struggle against elite athletes. At number 6, I have Franz Wagner from Michigan. Wagner is 6'9" with a 6'11" wingspan. In his sophomore season with Michigan, he averaged 23.2 points, 12.2 rebounds, and 5.6 assists per 100 possessions, with a 48% field goal percentage and 34% from 3. Wagner has a big body, but is extremely light on his feet. He can even switch on to guards at times. This makes him extremely valuable. He has good defensive awareness and instincts, and can combine his quick feet and active hands with great length to be a pest on the perimeter. Off the ball, he's good at recognizing and blocking passing lanes. He also closes out well and is a smart help defender, and even shown some potential as a rim protector. He's accustomed to playing in a drop coverage system. He does a good job of chasing around screens to stay with shooters too. On the ball, he can handle the ball well for his size. He shows good energy, plays hard, and does all the little things. He's also a great passer, and made some nice pocket passes and finds rollers well in the pick and roll. The jump shot looks alright, and there's a decent chance it'll translate. These shots will need to be very open though, and he's more likely to take threes off the dribble than off the catch. He's very right-hand dominated at the rim and just does not attack the rim with his left hand. The biggest concern with him for me though is his high-level shot creation ability and scoring upside. At number 5, I have Moses Moody from Arkansas. Moody is 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan, and in his solo season with the Razorbacks, he averaged 26.5 points, 9.1 rebounds, and 2.5 assists, while shooting 42.7% from the field and 35.8% from 3. The first place to start with Moody is his jumper, because boy is it a thing of beauty. It's really smooth and repeatable and has a really high release point. He can hit threes from all around the arc. His hands are always in a position to receive a pass and get into his shooting motion. To top it all off, he wasn't fazed by contests and hit more than a decent amount straight over guys. His length is a big bonus in this regard. By the way, he's got some range on his threes too. He uses his jab step to really throw defenders off, and is a good pull-up shooter too. He demonstrates this a lot in transition, and it's a great way to keep defenses honest when getting back. He's an extremely effective off-ball player, and his ability as a shooter means he draws a lot of the defense's attention. He naturally flows into great shooting positions. He's also a high-level shot creator and made more than a few tough shots. He's not a great finisher at the rim, and is clearly not a fan of contact. He showed potential as a playmaker of drives and penetration, and he also has good potential as an on-ball point of attack defender. He utilized his length well to contest shots, and he's even shown really good potential as a rim protector and a good team defender too. He's not a great athlete though, and doesn't possess a good quick first step. At numero 4, I have Zaire Williams from Stanford. Zaire Williams had a tough season with Stanford. Didn't play any games at home, the offense wasn't suited to him, and he had to deal with a lot of personal issues that meant he was in and out of the team. He averaged 22 points, 9.4 rebounds, and 4.5 assists per 100 possessions, while shooting 37% from the field and 30% from 3. He has a fluid jump shot and can hit them off the dribble. He took a lot of them, which shows that it's a shot he's really comfortable with. His length allows him to have a really high release point, and he's got some range in his jumpers as well. He operates the pick and roll well too, and just punishes defenders who choose to go under on him. The mid-range is an area where he excels in as well. He uses this in the pick and roll too when big men drop on him. The pull-up game is silky smooth, and his jab steps are borderline violent at times. He's also shown an ability to make tough shots in the mid-range. His abilities in isolation weren't always on full display due to Stanford's offense, but when he did get the opportunity, he was lethal, and I buy his potential to do this at the next level. There's potential for him to develop a step back too. His length helps him finish past guys, and that length also translates to the defensive end. He suffocates guys and makes it difficult for them to get good shots off. He's a really good on-roll defender and has good feet in the perimeter. His long arms allow him to poke balls away and get into passing lanes. He also anticipates passes and gets a ton of deflections. He also does a great job of getting around screens, and has even shown potential as a rim protector. He shows flashes as a good pick and roll operator. The handle is really fluid for a guy of his size, and he has a nice feel for making passes. He made some clever kick-out passes, and his height allows him to access passing angles smaller guys simply aren't able to. Here are the weaknesses though. The shot looks good, but blows hot and cold from game to game. He did take a ton of tough shots. I'm willing to place my confidence in the jumper though, because the mechanics look good, although it could be a touch faster. He struggles to score in the paint. He shot poorly close to the basket, and this is something that he will need to work on the next level. At the number 3 position, I have Jonathan Kuminga from the G League Ignite team. Kuminga is 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, and in the G League he averaged 17.4 points, 7.9 rebounds and 3 assists per 36 minutes, while shooting 38.7% from the field and 25.6% from 3. When we look at the tape, it's immediately evident that he loved the post/elbow region and was a really effective scorer when he got in these positions. He possesses the speed and athleticism to beat bigger guys off the dribble. He can also use his body to bully guys on his drives and is not afraid of contact and can finish through it. He's also really good at using his length to finish past guys. While his length is a big advantage when finishing, he has shown some craftiness, displaying some fake shots and creativity around the basket. This has resulted in him getting fouled a ton, which was another great source of offense for him. He's a really good player in the pick and roll, both as a ball handler and roller. He also has a bit of a mid-range game in the bag too. This isn't enough for me to give the jump shot a passing grade though. He's very inconsistent from downtown, and I suspect there's an issue with his feet that's causing much of this. He's a passable ball handler, but his long strides help him make up for any deficiencies in this area. He makes jumping look easy and is throwing down some almighty dunks. He is also a great lob threat and recognizes situations where this can be utilized really well. He's not as bad a distributor as his critics will have you believe. He made some nice passes in transition. He also made quite a few bad decisions though, which led to turnovers, and he showed that he can be a ball stopper at times. He's already a great shot blocker, again, using his athleticism here. His rebounding is also of a high level. With Kuminga, it's important to mention that he's still very young and will likely be one of the youngest players in this draft class. There's still a lot of development ahead of this guy, and it's for that reason that I think where he lands could have a huge impact on how his career pans out. At number 2, I have Scottie Barnes from Florida State University. Barnes is 6'8" with a 7'3" wingspan, and in his sole season at FSU, he averaged 23.8 points, 9.4 assists, and 9.2 rebounds per 100 possessions. He also shot 50.3% from the field and 27.5% from 3. Let's start with his defense, because that's the part of his game that gets me really excited. His size and length mean that he's able to be a super switchable and versatile defender who can switch positions 1 through 4. He can keep up with the smaller guys, but can also use his body and strength to prevent being bullied by bigger boys. There were very few instances where he seemed overwhelmed defensively. He looks like one of those guys who relishes playing defense and loves clamping up the opposition's best player. He also has very active hands and, as I mentioned before, a long wingspan. He uses these physical tools to get into passing lanes, poke balls away, and contest shots at the rim. He's a really fun and creative creator in the full court. He's a really good open floor passer and made some unbelievable reads last season. He uses his downhill pressure to attract defenders and has the ability and awareness to make passes to the corners. He can also adjust his passes while in the air. He always has his head up looking for shooters, and he loves throwing lobs. On the scoring front, things start to get a little bit more hairy though. Let's start with the positives. He's a great athlete and is really good at attacking the basket in transition. This led to some ferocious dunks. He can also finish through contact at times, using his length to get shots off over guys. He He possesses a good first step and is nearly unstoppable when driving downhill. Here are the negatives though. He's just not an aggressive scorer. His shot is inconsistent and the lower half of his body looks very rigid while shooting. He's not broken by any means, but will need some work. He's not the best shooter off the catch either, and he was even awful shooting in the corners, a position he will likely occupy quite a bit when he starts handling the ball. He doesn't have any form of a reliable runner or floater in the bag, so scoring outside of transition came hard for him. Sometimes he will heave up awkward one-handed floaters that lack touch. He rarely ever takes advantage of mismatches on the offense, and he lacks polish as a finisher. And finally, at the number 1 position, I have Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State. Cunningham is 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, and in his solitary season in college, he averaged 31.2 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 5.4 assists per 100 possessions, while shooting nearly 44% from the field and a terrific 40% from 3. I should probably start off by saying that Cade can do it all. He can shoot, pass, rebound, and defend, all to a good or elite level when compared to his peers. The natural place to start though is at his passing. Don't let that assist figure fool you. He's a far better passer than the number suggests. Let's start off with the way he operates the pick and roll. He's always been somewhat of a savant on these when compared to his peers, even going back to high school. He's comfortable waiting for plays to develop and then finding the best option. He rarely seems rushed or flustered, a great sign for a budding ball handler. He's a good open floor passer too and shows confidence, composure, and creativity in transition. Teams started throwing traps and double teams at Cunningham as the season progressed. However, he seemed comfortable handling them and got out of those situations with regularity. Scoring-wise, the jump shot passes the test. That 40% from 3 was not a fluke. He took nearly 9 a game, and boy did they look beautiful. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't a high-level shooter at the NBA level. I mean, this guy has been hitting step-back contested threes with consistency throughout the entire season. He can also hit jumpers off the dribble, going either way, and off the catch. The jump shot remains reliable when it's inside the arc as well, as he's a good mid-range shooter and can hit fadeaways as well. Like I mentioned before, he's a terrific pick-and-roll operator, and when defenses hedge against him, he made them pay at a ridiculous rate. This reputation as a shooter means defenses will eventually be forced to respect him. He's also a very good finisher through contact, and has nice touch around the rim. He can also hit a variety of little hook shots over smaller defenders. He's also happy to post up on mismatches, and again, his patience is visible. He's also an unbelievable isolation scorer. This is where that step-back J is particularly deadly. I believe he has great potential to be a 3-level scorer, while he does lack a great deal of acceleration though, and can struggle to beat players with the dribble. What stood out immediately to me was his on-court leadership. He's constantly pointing and directing players to do certain things or to go to certain places, almost like an orchestra conductor. This on-court coaching also transferred to his defense, where he was a versatile on-ball and team defender. He also possesses good awareness on that end and anticipates opposition drives. He knows when to rotate and is quick to identify backdoor cuts. Due to his physical tools, he can guard a variety of positions. He's even shown potential as a rim protector. However, his athleticism limits him in this respect. Well, that was all for this video. If you did enjoy, please put like and tap that like button. And until next time, it has been your boy, Zachary McAllister. Have a good day.